Royce, Gracie, Jason, DeLucia, retroactive replay. You saw the breakdown, quite possibly, of Royce and Jason in UFC 2. You saw how that ended. They fought previously. They fought prior to that. In the Gracie Academy, in the green room, 1951, West Carson Street.
We're going to show you why Jason wanted to fight again in the UFC.
Oh yeah.
This is why he came back.
Fight starts, standing up. Royce is here. Royce has his stance. They both kind of kick at the same time. Jason tries to like do a little front kick on him, and then Royce, boom, they both kind of collide, and then he runs in.
Well, he knew he threw it. The second kick he runs in, because Jason does one, Royce backs up. On the second one, they both go and he clinches. Yes.
And then Jason backs up and does a bunch of wild side punches right here, and then Royce just keeps following him so persistently. And then they clinch against the wall. Jason wraps his neck up right here. Boom. And then Royce knees him once, gets a hold of this leg right here, and then they basically fall to the ground, where Royce ends up stepping over and mounting. Rotate. He ends up mounted. Wrap your neck. So Royce is wrapped. Let go, let go. Royce is wrapped in a full guillotine.
Why is that funny?
Because Royce is wrapped in a full guillotine, and he would like to end up on the side mount. Generally speaking, the optimal place to be caught in a guillotine is side mounted opposite the choke of your opponent.
And if that pressure was so dangerous,
yeah,
he would have jumped to the side mount,
jumps,
and done what?
From here,
put his forearm across the throat right here, across my throat. Right?
Boom. Or knee him in the face.
Yeah. Okay.
And then he would have let go and he would have went back to the side mount and crept on through. But because the choke wasn't that bad, and because Royce liked the mount that he had, he chose to stay mounted. So he had it wrapped, he had his hands out, and then what he did is he opened up this side a little bit, and he just started, boom.
Don't even touch me.
Let go then.
Dude, he punched him like 10 times.
Freaking 15
times in the
ribs.
ribs.
You see his whole ribs, this part right here become freaking purple. Jason didn't want to let go, and there were emotional punches. It was like, dah.
Yeah, just that one punch of yours with your bony little knuckles,
bro,
on my bony ribs. I don't even want to deal with that.
So 15 of those back to back, the guy lets go. So Royce's head slips out of here, boom, and now he's mounted. And then it became kind of a, what happened from here? Royce controlled pretty well. Boom, maintaining. And then Jason gives his back. Ultimately, they end up
with the back hooks in.
Yeah, ultimately, Royce stays mounted. Jason goes a little berserk. Almost one time, Jason gets up. Oh, I remember how it got. It was like this. Go to your knees, but keep his hand behind you. Get up, turn to your knees, get up. They get up like this. They get up, like right here. So Royce is about to get thrown off right now because he let him get up too high right here. But then the arm slipped out of the way, and then they end up like this, boom. And then Jason, like basically, put your elbows down. Royce ends up very north right here. Mm-hmm. So he very cleverly uses both hands. He reaches in, he grabs triceps, and he uses them to pull himself back basically on his back. He slides down very nicely, and they control for a little while. Then Royce wraps, once he lines up his shoulder, his chest to back, he wraps the neck with one hand right here, and then Jason gets up on his feet, his head is lower, his hips are up, and he rolls, hips up. Mm-hmm. He rolls over, boom, and they end up this way. They end up doing a full front roll, and then they end up in this situation here, where Royce has the neck wrapped. Jason's holding his wrist over here very tightly, so that Royce can't grab the choke with the second hand.
Well, they were laying on the arm though, right? Would it have been the other side?
Yeah, it was like this. Yeah, that's true. They were laying on the arm that he was grabbing. So he had the wrist grabbed pretty tightly. Royce couldn't pull this out. So it ends up happening here.
Could have maybe held the shoulder and choked him, squeezed, maybe tap, or hand behind the head. But there was a certain
cat and mouse playfulness.
Yeah, and there was no hurry to finish the fight.
Yeah, so basically it was a sparring session, okay? The Royce was having fun. So ultimately here, not able to finish the choke and not able to close the deal here, or just not eager to, Royce lets go of the neck, and he goes, boom! He starts throwing 3 or 4 elbows to the spine right here. Wait. Jason grabs this foot.
Yeah, if I'm getting elbowed in the spine, I gotta get out of here.
Jason grabs the foot, starts going to his knees in the guard, so then Royce spins right away, and they end up in this guard situation here, okay? And from the guard, stand up. he gets up pretty quickly to his knees, hands on the inside. He's like this. Royce's legs climb up. Arm lock from the guard. Okay, lesson 19. Gracie combatives. So he goes for the arm lock. This leg comes over the head. Then Jason rips that hand out. Slice 3. Triangle transition. Royce grabs his foot. He locks it up here. As soon as he rips his hand out, he does catch Royce on the way down here. Boom! So the hand came out of the arm lock, and just Royce was focusing on locking up the triangle. So as soon as it came out, he went here, and it landed. Click.
And we couldn't even see it land though.
But we heard it.
We think we heard it. For all we know, it landed.
It's pretty crispy.
And what Royce does next makes us feel like it did land.
Yeah, good point. So he locks up the triangle, and then Jason ends up stacking them up, but they roll straight over. No. Sure. So he rolls. Boom. And we end up here.
Dang.
You guys, Royce knows how to choke people out. He could have easily choked Jason from here. He didn't. He chose not to. First he goes pop, and Royce has his knuckles wrapped. You know, they're wrapped to protect his knuckles a little bit. Pop.
He was.
Pop.
Jason was trying to block. Hold on. He was actually blocking like certain angles. So Royce would just always find the one angle that he was not blocking.
You can see Royce was punching, but it was very unemotional. It was still, I mean, maybe a little emotional from that one time he got hit right there. But it was very controlled. He wasn't just going crazy all his might, because he would break his hand on the guy's skull. So it was like, boom, boom. It was very, very accurate and very poppy punches. And then he clears his arm out of the way. Boom, and he has a free shot. He goes free shot. And you'll see Jason, you know, say stop. And Royce lets go. So, very beautiful moments of control there. The transition to high guard, triangle setup from the arm lock pull out was really cool. The elbow hit to the back is what gave Jason the opportunity.
Yeah, it was interesting to me, but I've never seen that before except for in that fight. To the back of the middle of the spine. I've seen to the neck,
right,
but like to the center of the spine.
And it's usually used when someone is like this, belly neck hiding, because you want to expose their neck, so they go like this and they open up, you know? So for Royce to have used it from the back mount when they were belly up was a little bit risky from a control perspective.
Correct.
But you know.
But you can see immediately when he did it and Jason ran away, Royce followed up, it was very much like, who cares?
It was very playful.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
I elbow him, he gets away, I'm just going to clinch, and we're just going to keep, because once the clinch happened and once the clinch and then the ground, to Royce it was like, okay,
yeah, let's just
it's
spar.
only a matter of time.
You know, there's a certain element of,
I don't want this game to end.
Yeah, you want to keep playing, you know?
Keep the roller coaster going forever.
So he let it ride out, you know, for a reasonable amount of time, and then he closed the deal. I think that because Jason was so squirmy, and because Jason got one punch in, and because Jason got him in a half guillotine, he really thought that I got his number, I can get him the next time.
Jason thought,
yeah. Which is why he chose to enroll in the
UFC.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, dang, I got his number, I can get him. He doesn't realize though the Royce was probably operating on like 50% survival. He was really being playful, you know, he wasn't really going 100% as if it was the fight of his life. He was just in there to close the distance and sparring with punches against a representative of another discipline. So, but Jason wasn't given that memo.
Yes.
So he came to the UFC thinking, I got his number, and he lost in the UFC faster than the academy.
Yeah, it makes sense. Royce wasn't trying to play around.
Royce wasn't messing around, yeah. And the UFC was different. There was too much at stake, too many people watching.
And there was more fights.
Too big of a cause, educational for the globe.
Multiple fights.
Yes, you want to minimize the amount of time in each fight so you can get to the next one and save energy.
Now, and real quick, on the clinch, we were discussing earlier on the clinch, when Royce comes in for the clinch, how persistent he was, right? You talked about it, how Jason was hitting, going backwards, and Royce keeps going, boom, until they hit the wall. Or it could have been a car or the cage or whatever, but the idea of just continuing. And also sometimes you might see, whether it's Royce or our father or whoever, the hands are not always perfectly blocking the head all the way in. Sometimes one arm might drop a little sooner to block a punch, to grab the body. And you discussed that before many times, and how we teach things even a move like taking the back from the guard,
Right.
or a trap and roll, or mountain control. But we teach things and we understand that modifying them will happen. And you gotta do what works for you. And sometimes you see Royce or whoever, Gracie representative or anybody doing anything a little different. There's no rules.
Yeah, there really aren't. And yes, that's, especially with the clinch, we teach you guys have your hands up and make contact and then come down. But man, in the fight for your life, you know, when you gotta grab that person at some point between here and entering and here, you have to grab them. So your hands might come down a second sooner than later. What's more important than the timing there per se is the persistence and the belief that I don't care this way or that way, I've got to grab them. I must close the distance. I must get that clinch. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. You got to get the clinch.
And if the timing at which you shot was, you know, the best, meaning they were kicking or they were moving forward or backwards, then you have a little more I guess freedom, leeway to let your hands drop because you know that the punch can't be that effective.
That's what you see a lot of with these guys and their family members in their challenge matches is they'll throw a flashbang, they'll throw up his own, the guy's on the run, and the guy's falling backwards, he can't knock anybody out like that, so their hands might come down, their chin is well tucked, so they might be like in a situation like this, where they're entering, but this is nothing anyways, and
sometimes the worst that could happen is that as they're moving and you're trying to shoot, they push, and then they create distance, but there was no...
That's the worst thing, but most time that doesn't happen because if they're trying to hit you, they aren't thinking about distance.
Of course.
So the few times where that happened, it was a good example was like Royce and Keith Hackney. Keith, when Royce entered, Keith just grabbed him and was only thinking about not hitting him, but just keeping that distance.
If he would have been more punch focused, then it might have been a little easier to get the clinch.
Yeah, the easiest guys to clinch are the most aggressive ones. So in most of these challenge matches, you see that they enter so easily because these guys are convinced with their 30 years of Hapkido or Kung Fu or whatever that they can just knock you out with one perfect punch. It's an illusion, you guys. They can, but how hard is it to catch that punch when I'm kicking your knee, protecting my face, and I'm moving? You gotta like line that up and I'm all the way over, you know? It's so much movement that it's just, how are you gonna hit that moving target? To knock someone out when they're standing still is hard enough. What about when they're kicking at you, shooting at you, moving, and ducking their head? It's very challenging to find it at that split second. And if you don't find it, guess what? You're done. Their only chance is that perfect punch. Our only chance is if we get a hold of them and bring them to our territory. Who has better chances?
But that's not our only chance, though.
True that.
You said our only chance if we...
You're trying to make a point. It landed good left and right there, bro.
Correct. Well, be careful.
Bro, why'd you have to shoot it down publicly like that?
I'm just saying what it is.
True that.
If the fight never even goes to the clinch,
right,
and we just throw a front kick, a jab, and just kind of stay away because he never, you know, attacks me, then that's no problem either.
Then you win.
I'm safe.
You win.